What if I told you that one of the most celebrated mathematicians in history was not merely a scientist, but a mystic, a master of ancient wisdom who tapped into the very fabric of reality itself? What if behind the numbers and triangles, behind the clean lines of geometry, there was a secret doctrine, one so powerful that it could change not only how you think, but how you live? Sit back and watch as we journey beyond the surface of Pythagoras, the man taught to you in textbooks, and step into the hidden corridors of his ancient school, a place where numbers sang, where the soul's journey was mapped through sacred mathematics, and where the mysteries of the universe were whispered to those deemed worthy. This is not the Pythagoras of classrooms and rote memorization. This is the Pythagoras whose true teachings were guarded like sacred flames, passed only through the silent nods of initiates who understood their power. In this video, we will unravel the veiled wisdom Pythagoras left behind, the secret philosophy he believed could purify the soul, heal the body, and unlock unseen dimensions of existence. You will discover why his teachings were buried, why they were feared, and how they can awaken a deeper, richer experience of life even today. We will explore the music of the spheres, the alchemical nature of numbers, and the sacred path of personal transformation he quietly carved into history. Prepare yourself, because once you see through the eyes of Pythagoras, you will never see the world the same way again. When most people hear the name Pythagoras, they think immediately of the Pythagorean theorem, a simple formula taught in early mathematics. Yet few realize that for the ancient world, Pythagoras was much more than a mathematician. He was a revered mystic, a semi-divine figure whose teachings were so profound they were cloaked in secrecy for centuries. Born around 570 BCE on the island of Samos, Pythagoras traveled extensively to Egypt, Babylon, and perhaps even deeper into the hidden sanctuaries of ancient wisdom. In each place, he gathered sacred knowledge, from the priesthoods of Egypt, the magi of Persia, and the mathematicians of the East. By the time he returned to Greece, he had become something rare, a living bridge between worlds, between science and spirit, logic and mystery. In the city of Croton in southern Italy, Pythagoras founded a secretive brotherhood known simply as the Pythagoreans. This was not merely a school for intellectual pursuits, it was a spiritual order. Initiates underwent years of silence, purification, and philosophical training before being entrusted with the deeper teachings. They lived communally, practiced strict ethical codes, and studied the inner workings of reality through numbers, music, and geometry, believing that understanding the invisible laws behind the visible world would grant mastery over one's destiny. Central to Pythagoras' philosophy was the idea that everything is number, but not in the cold, mechanical sense. Numbers were seen as living forces, the very architecture of creation. Every number carried a sacred vibration, a personality, a spiritual essence. Geometry wasn't just mathematics, it was the language of the divine mind. Music wasn't just entertainment, it was a mirror of the cosmic harmony that governs the movements of the stars. The music of the spheres, one of his most beautiful teachings, spoke of celestial bodies producing a symphony, a song so pure and continuous that human ears, dulled by the material world, could no longer hear it. To the Pythagoreans, awakening to this cosmic music was to awaken the soul itself. Yet, much of this wisdom was hidden, layered behind symbols and rituals. Why? Because true power, they believed, could not be entrusted to those unprepared to wield it responsibly. Misused, it could lead to chaos. Misunderstood, it could become corrupted. Over time, as empires rose and fell, as dogmatic institutions tightened their grip on knowledge, Pythagoras' deeper teachings were either suppressed, lost, or rebranded in ways that stripped them of their transformative power. What survived was a hollow shell of what once was, a faint echo of a once vibrant symphony. Today, glimpses of his true wisdom survive in fragments, hidden in esoteric traditions, in ancient manuscripts gathering dust, and in the quiet intuitions of seekers who know there must be more to life than what the surface reveals. And it is those fragments we will piece together tonight, peering through the mist of centuries to uncover the forgotten map that Pythagoras left for those ready to walk the path. At the heart of Pythagoras' hidden teachings lies a breathtaking revelation. The universe is built on a sacred order, a divine blueprint encoded within numbers themselves. To Pythagoras, numbers were not human inventions, they were the invisible architects of reality. He taught that one represented unity, the source from which all things emanate. Two symbolized duality, light and darkness, masculine and feminine, spirit and matter. Three embodied harmony, the sacred balance between opposites, forming the eternal triad seen across all wisdom traditions, body, mind, and soul. For reflected the material world, the four elements, the four seasons, the four directions that frame human experience. Five became the symbol of life and human consciousness, tied to the five senses and the sacred five-pointed star, the pentagram, revered by the Pythagoreans. These were not idle abstractions. Pythagoras believed that to understand numbers was to touch the mind of the divine itself. Every number, every proportion, every geometric form carried within it a spiritual principle, a hidden truth of existence. One of his most profound discoveries was the teaching of harmony, the invisible balance that holds all things together. Through the study of sound and vibration, Pythagoras found that simple numerical ratios created harmonious tones. The octave, the fifth, the fourth, these sounds were more than musical, they were the audible reflections of the cosmic order. He extended this insight to the heavens, revealing that the stars and planets themselves moved according to mathematical patterns, creating a majestic and eternal song, the legendary music of the spheres. Though imperceptible to human ears, this cosmic symphony shaped the growth of plants, the pull of tides, and even the unfolding of human destiny. The implications were staggering. If the soul could attune itself to this celestial harmony, it could rise beyond suffering, beyond chaos, beyond illusion. Life would no longer appear random or cruel. It would be seen as part of a vast, intricate design, where each hardship and blessing was but a single note in the grand symphony of existence. This is why the Pythagoreans lived with such strict devotion. Purity of mind, body, and soul were not moral obligations. They were necessary disciplines for tuning the self to the divine harmonies. Meditation, a plant-based diet, ethical living, and mindful action, each was a string to be tuned to perfect resonance with the cosmos. Pythagoras also unveiled the profound teaching of metempsychosis, the journey of the soul through many lifetimes. The soul, he said, was immortal, passing from one form to another in a cycle of purification and ascent. Like the stars circling the heavens, the soul moved in patterns governed by sacred harmony. A life lived in discord would lower the soul's vibration, while a life lived in harmony would elevate it closer to the divine. Yet Pythagoras gave a solemn warning: knowledge without transformation is perilous. To glimpse the cosmic order, but refuse to live in accordance with it, was to sow dissonance within the soul. True wisdom demanded not only insight but action, a reordering of one's very being in the image of the divine. For this reason, much of his teaching was veiled in riddles, symbols, and sacred phrases, given only to those deemed ready. Pythagoras knew that to scatter ultimate truths before the unready was to waste the sacred seeds upon barren ground. These teachings were not merely intellectual, they were living truths, meant to be embodied until the seeker became, themselves, a reflection of cosmic harmony. But this is only the beginning. The deeper mysteries, those that hold the power to transform your mind, your spirit, and your destiny, await in the shadows just beyond this first threshold. To truly grasp the hidden teachings of Pythagoras, we must step deeper into the labyrinth of his philosophy, a realm where symbols conceal as much as they reveal. Pythagoras taught that geometry is the language of the divine. Every form, every shape found in nature echoed sacred principles. The triangle, the square, the circle, these were not mere human inventions, they were cosmic signatures. Take, for instance, the revered tetractys, a triangular arrangement of 10 points, structured in 4 ascending rows. To the initiated, it was far more than a clever pattern. It was a living symbol of the unfolding of creation itself. The tetractys represented the progression from the one to the many. It held within it the mysteries of space, time, music, and spirit. Whispered among the inner circles of Pythagoras' followers was the belief that to meditate upon the tetractys was to align one's soul with the hidden architecture of the universe. But Pythagoras' teachings reached even beyond the seen and the known. He hinted at an invisible reality, a world of subtle energies and archetypal forces that shaped the physical world. Long before the advent of modern quantum theories, Pythagoras taught that all matter was the dance of vibrating energy. What we call physical reality, he said, is but a shadow cast by unseen harmonies. One of the most provocative aspects of his philosophy was the idea that thought itself carries a measurable vibration. Every emotion, every belief, every intention radiates outward, weaving invisible patterns into the fabric of existence. In this view, the soul was not imprisoned by the body. It was a luminous, vibrating entity, capable of affecting and being affected by the cosmic order. Thus, Pythagoras urged his disciples to guard their thoughts as fiercely as their actions. A thought misaligned with truth could distort the soul's vibration, leading it astray in the endless journey through incarnations. Another profound, often hidden, teaching was that mathematics could be used not only to understand the cosmos, but to awaken the soul. The rigorous study of mathematics, music, and sacred geometry was not merely academic. It was a form of spiritual ascension. As the mind grew to comprehend eternal truths, it pulled the soul upward, away from the illusions of the material world. This is why Pythagoras' school in Croton was shrouded in mystery and strict initiation rituals. Only those who proved their commitment to purity, discipline, and truth were permitted to receive the deeper teachings. It was said that students spent 5 years in silence before they were allowed to even hear the master speak, a training not only of patience, but of deep inner purification. There were whispered legends that the most advanced initiates could hear the music of the spheres, perceive the sacred ratios that underpinned reality, and even manipulate energy through the power of sound and thought. Yet, Pythagoras himself remained cautious. He knew that true power, in the hands of the unworthy, could lead not to enlightenment but to ruin. Thus, many of his most potent teachings were hidden behind allegory, symbol, and silence, waiting for the few who could pierce the veil. In the end, Pythagoras was not merely teaching a philosophy, he was offering a path to transformation. To walk it demanded not blind belief, but a deep inner revolution, a reshaping of consciousness itself. And now, standing at the edge of these mysteries, the question arises: how can you begin to integrate these ancient truths into your own life? That is where the practical applications begin, the practices that can change not only your perception, but the very vibration of your existence. To bring the hidden teachings of Pythagoras into your daily life is to walk the path of conscious harmony. It is not enough to simply know these truths intellectually. They must be lived, breathed, and woven into the fabric of your being. The first and most profound step is the cultivation of inner silence. Pythagoras demanded years of silence from his disciples because he understood a great truth. In silence, the soul begins to hear the subtle music of the cosmos. Spend time each day in complete stillness, not merely without speaking, but without the inner chatter that clouds perception. In the quiet spaces between thoughts, a deeper awareness will awaken. Next comes the sacred attention to thought. Begin to observe your mental landscape as a living field of energy. Every fear, every resentment, every careless wish distorts the vibratory pattern of your soul. Pythagoras taught that a soul filled with discord could not ascend to higher realms. Guard your mind as a temple. Let every thought be weighed by its resonance with truth, beauty, and harmony. You can also incorporate sacred geometry into your surroundings. Shapes like the circle, the triangle, and the pentagram were not mere decorations to Pythagoras. They were vessels of cosmic energy. Surround yourself with these forms, whether through art, symbols, or intentional design, and use them as meditative focal points. As you gaze upon a true geometric form, allow it to draw you into the deeper harmonies of existence. Sound and music are powerful tools as well. Pythagoras believed that music could heal the soul by restoring it to its proper vibrational state. Choose music that resonates with purity and order. Better yet, create simple harmonic tones yourself. Hum, chant, or use instruments tuned to natural frequencies. As you vibrate outward, you retune the inner world. Another profound practice is the meditation upon the tetracties. Visualize the 10 points arranged in a perfect triangular form. Reflect upon how unity unfolds into duality, then into multiplicity, and finally into the material world. As you meditate, you will begin to feel the truth of these patterns reflected within your own soul. Daily life, too, becomes an opportunity for sacred alignment. Before every action, pause and ask, does this action harmonize with the deeper order of life? In every word you speak, every decision you make, seek the echo of cosmic balance. Over time, this awareness will refine your very being, aligning you closer to the divine blueprint. It is important to remember that transformation through these teachings is not sudden. Pythagoras himself taught that the soul's ascent is like the growth of a tree, silent, slow, inevitable. Trust the process. Every moment of conscious living weaves a new strand into the tapestry of your destiny. Perhaps the most hidden and powerful teaching of all is this. You are already a living tetracties, a microcosm of the universe, carrying within you the same sacred proportions, the same secret harmonies. The journey is not to become something other than what you are, but to remember and reclaim the divine architecture already etched into your soul. As you walk this path, you will notice subtle shifts, moments of profound clarity, intuitive insights that seem to come from nowhere, a growing sense of peace even amid chaos. These are not accidents. They are signs that the ancient current Pythagoras once tapped into is now flowing through you. You are becoming an initiate of the hidden music that moves the stars. In the modern world, the teachings of Pythagoras are often reduced to simple mathematics, mere formulas etched onto sterile classroom boards. Yet behind the numbers, behind the geometries, lies a universe of hidden meaning, a living philosophy meant to awaken the soul. Through the practices of silence, sacred thought, musical resonance, and conscious living, you are not merely learning ideas. You are stepping into a current of ancient wisdom that has shaped sages, mystics, and seekers for millennia. You are aligning yourself with the same forces that govern the stars, the cycles of nature, the very pulse of existence itself. Pythagoras did not offer his teachings to the careless. They were reserved for those willing to see beyond the veils, to embrace discipline not as restriction, but as liberation, to seek truth not for the sake of pride, but for the sake of awakening. You now stand at the threshold. Will you walk the hidden path? Will you listen for the music that plays behind the noise of the world? Will you become a living embodiment of the divine harmony that Pythagoras once glimpsed? The choice is yours. But know this, even the smallest step toward conscious living ripples outward into eternity. In choosing to walk this path, you are not only transforming your life, you are tuning yourself to the secret music that moves creation itself. The mysteries are waiting for you, and when you are ready, they will reveal themselves. If you found value in this journey, consider joining our growing community of truth seekers. Subscribe, share your reflections in the comments, and continue walking the path of hidden wisdom. Until next time, may the hidden music guide you.